Hi everyone, Angus Campbell here. It's Saturday the 22nd of June 2024. So hot on the heels of the B25 SS paint saga. I've nipped over to the other storage place and ridden it over there to swap it out for the Rocket 3 because I want to do a couple of runs in the next week or so on this bike. However, it's started to show the signs of a blocked pilot jet on this left-hand carb here. So it's getting a bit more difficult to start, it doesn't tick over properly. But if you press the tickler down on this side, it does tick over for a short period and then it starts to die away. Also, when I'm riding it up from low revs, it's fluffing around a bit, but if I open the throttle to accelerate, it goes like hell. So I'm confident we just need to do a bit of a carb service, really. We know that the mounting rubbers here, they're cracking as well, so we'll replace those. I've got some in stock. So we're just going to do a quick job on this, take the carbs off, and we're just going to put the body parts of the carbs into the ultrasonic cleaner, which is wearing away at the background, just warming up. So it's the usual sequence, really. There are 2 bolts that go through the rack to screw into the back of the air filter. So unscrew those first. That will enable us to take the air filter off and move it out of the way, and then we'll be able to undo the clamps on the mounting rubbers, take the fuel lines off, take the throttle cable off, and then the rack will just come off. So let's get on with that now. So just to show you that the 2 bolts that are holding on the air filter are in the carb gantry. There's one of them there in between each of the carbs, just 2 of them, and they, as you can see, go all the way through there and into the back of the air filter. 7/16, so we'll get those out first. Right, that's the air filter off, easy enough. Fuel lines are off, 5/8 spanner gets those. Easy enough to take off throttle cable just with your fingers by just compressing that and screwing out the adjuster, and then it'll slip off. And now all I've got to do is just undo the hose clamps. So I'll go for the 3 that are closest to the cylinder head, so the rubbers come off too, and then we'll just pull the rack off backwards, and then we can get it up on the bench. Right, ignore what I've just said. I forgot about the choke cables. I don't really want to mess about taking all the slides and that off cables because they're a pain in the backside. So what I'm going to do is it's a bit of a pain, but I'm going to take the tops off, and then I'm going to take the carb bodies off from here. It's probably going to help if I take off the fuel line set and the banjos off first, because then we can do them all separately. So I think that is something like, believe it or not, 14mm fits best on that. So we'll do that first. So yeah, apologies, I wasn't thinking there. Wonder why I had it in the idea, had it in my head that I could do that. But anyway, can't do it. And I'm not certainly stripping the choke cable out from under the tank, etc. I don't want to take the tank off, and we can do all that without taking the tank off. So let's get on with it. Okay, fuel banjos off. Next thing we'll take the tops off. Just these Phillips screws, the original ones. You'll see that some previous owner on this bike has actually had the float bowls chromed as well as the banjos. Interesting touch, but anyway, on we go. Right, tops off, and then onto the 2 mounting stud stroke nuts. I think from memory these are 1/2 inch. Yep. Bit of a pig to get out, but you can get them, and as long as the threads are clean, etc., we should be okay. And then we should be able to, once these are undone, just pull the body forward down and leave the slide and the top end where it is. Right, there we are, about 1/2 hour job for an amateur like me to get the carbs off and into that sort of position where we just need to unscrew really the float bowl, and we're just about there then to ready to put them in the ultrasonic cleaner, which is up to temperature. Let me just show you one thing I found though on observing this as we strip it down. In general, things are in pretty good nick. I might replace the O-rings. I still, oh, yeah, the other two are in there. You see, that O-ring is thinner than that one, so we need them all to be the same, and that's a nice thick one too. So we'll probably keep those two. That's wrong, it needs to be a bit thicker. I've got some in stock, I'm sure. Now the other thing is these damn hoses. These have probably been on, I don't know, 3 or 4 years. Look at it. Perish to hell. And actually, look at that, it's gone all the way through. So always check this lot. These triples do like the carbs to be well set up, and you can't afford to have things like that. Look at that. Look at it. That's where they're going. Big. Right, next thing. I've got some replacements. First thing you notice, they're thinner and probably too flexible. They're probably made out of more modern material though. Now I understand that there are some rubbish ones about and some better ones. I am getting, I think it's Phil at KBH, he's going to source me some better ones, but for now we will use these, but they should be alright, but I wouldn't know how long these last. But anyway, they're going to be a vast improvement on what we've just taken off. Right, okay, all I'm going to do now is take the float bowls off, take the floats and the needles out, because all I really want to do is I want to ultrasonically clean the bodies with all the jets in. So we'll just take the adjustments, the idle screw out, and put the body in. I won't put the float bowl in. I don't think there's any need. They're pretty clean anyway. The banjo filters, they're all very clean. I've not seen anything untoward on those. Okie dokie, we'll get them buzzing away. Okay, we're cooking on gas. The carb bodies are in. I have put the float bowls in, and that's because I want to clean the needle seats. There are no jets in there, but the needle seat is important, so I have put those in. Other than that, nothing untoward really. Here are the 3 O-rings. I think this one is slightly smaller diameter. I'll see if I've got any in stock, because I might just replace all 3 to make sure they're the same size. Right, they're in the ultrasonic cleaner. I'll give them 15 minutes. First set, then I leave them 15 minutes, and then I give them another ultrasonic clean for 15 minutes, and then we'll take them out. Well, the carb bodies and float chambers are still cooking, but what I've noticed is as the petrol is evaporating off these floats, there's this horrible residue which you can scrape. As you can see, many years ago I replaced the original floats with these, which are supposed to be able to cope with the ethanol based fuels, even though obviously I run it on super. But I think what we'll do is we'll chuck these in the ultrasonic cleaner. Obviously they'll float, but they'll clean them up, and it will also be a good test to make sure there's no leaks. I'm sure there isn't, but we'll put them in to clean them up anyway. Just add them to the bath. Right, they're out after they've finished cooking, and goodness, even look how the bodies have come up. You get all that sort of yellowish residue off. Same with the floats, and if you think that you know, you get yellowish residue on the floats, which almost looks like, you know, sulfur residue, just by them sat in petrol with some ethanol in it. Imagine how much of that actually settles, not just from there, but the same thing happens where that sort of stuff is deposited internally through the carb and the jets. I suppose before I put the bodies in, I could have taken the jets out, but I've taken them out now. They've had a good bath, and I've checked them all out, and they're fine. There you go. There we go. And they're all the same. So that's good. Right, we'll let all those cool off, dry off, and then tomorrow we'll put them all back together. Morning everyone, next morning. All looking good, all cooled off, dried off. And all I've done just now is I've just cleaned up the mating surfaces. There's a little bit of gasket left on there, just the surface. And one thing to bear in mind is, yeah, it's very nice getting things like this chromed, but if the chrome starts to flake off on your mating surface, then you might have a bit of a problem. Now that mating surface is all right, but we do have a bit of, I don't know, some crud in there. We'll just get that cleaned out. Don't think it's anything serious, but we'll just clean it out as best we can. But yeah, just on that note, now then, you see there's chrome missing there. And there's some missing on that one too there. I mean, it's not serious because if your float height is right, then the fuel isn't going to be up to the mating surface anyway. But I think we'll be able to seal all right. One of the gaskets I'll replace with a new one. The other two that I took to originals are good, in good order, so they'll be fine. Replaced one of the O-rings with a new one out of a carb rebuild kit. But what I will do with the obviously the mating surfaces for the rack, they have to be cleaned, but also I will put a smear of silicone sealer on these on either side of the O-ring. I mean, they're just so thin. I just don't trust them. You've got a massive groove there, and they sit in there, and they're really, yeah, they're a little bit proud, but not that proud. I want more than that. So we'll put a bit of, say, silicone sealer on there as well. Okay, right. Let's. Oh, one other observation. Sorry, one other observation. Here we go. Here's a classic, original maintenance repair of a block pilot jet. See, the pilot jet lives in here. There. Oh, sorry. No. Where are we? Where's there's the feed, right? There's the fuel feed from the float bowl to the pilot jet, which is sort of cast in roundabout in that tube. You can see they're roundabout there. And on this side, you've got air coming in from that drilled hole there. You can see it's not drilled on that side, that's blocked because we're getting fuel in. We've got air coming on this side, down this tube, past the air screw, which screws in here. That's an air screw, it's not a pilot screw, air screw. So you get air coming in this side, fuel from that side, goes up a tiny little cast-in jet into the body of the carb and gets sucked in. So the only way Let's have a think about this. Am I talking absolute bloody rubbish? No, I'm right. So the fuel is coming in there, but sorry, the jet, casting jet, is round about here. Yeah, not there in the tube, but there, because what you can do if you think it's blocked and you need to clean it out is the original way was to drill this side and you get access to it, because normally that's blanked off. Where's the other carbs? Let's have a look at this one. Right. So there's your fuel feed on this one going up here. You can't see that very well, but that's not drilled there. That's a blank. So your jets, you know, over here, cast in somewhere, might even be there. So this one's been drilled, so somebody's used that to get access to the pilot jet to clean it out. But what we do these days is we go from the air screwed side, which is drilled, and you can't see it because of the light there, but you can see all the way down to the pilot jet, and you can insert a little tiny drill glued onto a cocktail stick in there to clean it out. Now it's I can never remember, it's either a 0.75 or a 0.78 drill. I think it's, can't remember, I'd have to look it up. I was corrected kindly by a subscriber. But anyway, that's the way to do it. So you can do it on the outer carbs. You can try and unblock pilot jets as a first resort on the side of the road just by taking the air screw out and putting your little drill bit down if you've got it handy. Anyway, back to the point in hand. That's been araldited. And we'll inspect that closely because we need to make sure that's sealed properly. And do you know what? I'm tempted to dig that out and do it again. Let's do it while we're here. Okay, anyway, that's a rather long-winded way of trying to explain what the hell's going on and why we've got that. Right, after a quarter of an hour of messing about with other bits and pieces, which I'll show you in a sec. There we go. There's this little, well, I don't know whether it's araldite or silicon sealer or whatever. It's pretty squishy now, but that did just pop out of that hole with just a little bit of a tease with a pick. So we'll get that blocked up with something. I'm tempted to press something in there, to be honest, to make it a bit more of a permanent seal. So that's easy enough to fix anyway. We'll get that sorted out. Now the other thing I've done in the meantime as well is that what I do finally is a final test of all these jets is on a normal carb, not this one because it's been drilled, but say on a normal carb where you've got that side has never been drilled, either side of the petrol feed from the float bowl, is screw the air screw all the way in, and then if you put a bit of methylated spirits into a syringe, or in this case I just use an all specific gravity measure, and you, with a bit of a seal, you force methylated spirits up through that hole there, which is your standard petrol feed from the float bowl. Because your air screw is screwed all the way in, you're not going to get anything out the air side. Then it should flow out of, whenever I can find it, the little pilot jet hole in the base of the carb. Hang on a minute. Let's just see if I can see it for you. Which side is it on? It's on the other side. Here we go. There it is. Right. If you look just in front of, you can see the needle jet brass drilling there. just in front of that and just behind what appears to be that groove, you can just perceive a little tiny pinprick. If I just move my finger, oh, there it is, you can see it better now. There it is. Shaky fingers. That's where your pilot jet mixture enters the carb body. So what should happen is, say if the pilot jet screw, which is actually the air screw, is screwed all the way in, push some fluid down there, it should come out of that tiny pinhole. Now I force down methylated spirits. That's an old trick I was taught by an old BSA mechanic at my hometown in Grimsby. Gresswell's Garage used to be a BSA dealer. He lived down the road from us. I was having terrible trouble on the 68 Lightning with the monoblock carb slides sticking God knows what. And he said, just clean everything down in meths because it will dissolve, if you like, gooey, burnt on fuel. And it does work a treat. So I flush them out with that because I know it'll evaporate off, and I know it will actually help with, as I say, just getting rid of any final residue. Now the right and the left hand carbs worked fine. Sorry, the right and the middle carbs, centre carbs worked fine. Left hand carb was still blocked, big time, even after the ultrasonic clean. So I've done another trick with the old drill bit. Now I think the correct bit, I think from memory, is 0.78. I think I got 0.75s in the past, and somebody picked me up on it quite rightly. That should be 0.78. So I've managed to get that through. Eventually it was blocked, and now it's I've purged it with the methylated spirits and it's working fine. So that was our problem, which obviously was pretty significant because the ultrasonic cleaner didn't touch it, which is unusual. Right, what we'll do now is we'll put all this lot. Well, sorry. Firstly, I've got to seal up the drilled hole in this, and then we'll get the float bowls built back up. Right, that's that carb fixed. I've used Araldite again. Key is not to use too much because you don't want to ram too much down there, and you've got to keep turning it as well while it's curing to make sure it doesn't run down there and actually totally block off your petrol feed to your pilot jet. But yeah, that was pretty neat. That'll do nicely. Right, while that's curing on that carb, we can get the other two together and start consolidating what appears to be a gigantic mess now. 2 down, 1 to go. Just thought I'd quickly say, look, just be careful when you're putting these back together because there's all sorts of opportunities to get this wrong. So sometimes these float spindles, you have to push them in to get them into the slot properly in the float bowl. And if you don't get that right, then the float movement might be impeded. And the other thing to bear in mind is that, you know, these are important holes here for air and fuel. And so if you get the gasket wrong or out of kilter, you're going to compromise that as well. So there's all these things to consider when you're putting this back together, just to make sure you're getting everything correct and lined up. Because the worst thing you can have on a Rocket 3 or a Trident are bad carbs, because they just run terribly. Right, there we go, float bowls all back together. So we're ready to put the carbs back onto the rack. So this is just be, you know, the reverse order of what we did before. We've got our new hose rubbers there. We'll do the left hand one first. Just make sure that you put them on right way around, because the left hand carb does have its tickler on the left. The other two are on the right. Okay, we'll put the left hand one on now, and I'll get on with this, and I'll bring you back once I've got the carbs back on. Right, there we go, rack all loaded up, pretty straightforward. So the only tip here to mention is when doing up the carb mounting nuts, obviously do both sides evenly, but don't over tighten these. but just nice and firm. And I've got, you know, a pretty long handled 1/2-inch spanner, which enables me to get into these quite easily to do them properly, because sometimes they're a bit awkward and you leave them a little bit loose. But yeah, pleased with that. Right, we'll put a little bit of oil on these clutch choke cables while they're here. They lead a bit of a tortuous life, but we'll get some oil on those, and then we're on to the dreaded new hoses. So the way I do it is we'll put the hoses on the carb rack first here, and then smear a bit of oil around the stubs and press them home. They should be okay, seeing as though they're new, and actually, as I say, they're not as thick as the originals. Can't quite reach to get them in there now, but anyway, it's always a pig of a job, but it's just got to be done. Right, let's get on. Okay, we're all on. Wasn't too bad actually. However, got all a few lines and banjos back on, and we've got a bad leak from the banjo underneath the right hand carb. Now then, let's have a look here, see if we can. Here it is. And I think it's the banjo that's cracked. So we'll need to take that off. Obviously I've taken it off, made sure the filter is seated properly and everything's tight, and it is, not cross-threaded. Sorry about the light. But anyway, we'll need to take that off. I should be able to pull that off the other fuel lines and leave all the other banjos in place. So anyway, we need to replace that. I think I've got some in stock. God, I hope so. Anyway, let's get it off. Right, yep, luckily got another one in stock, but yeah, I think we've got a problem. Now then, where is it? There it is. You can see there that the chrome's come off and it's slightly rusty all around there. And look at that there. And that's just opened up, obviously. I hope, anyway. And that's the correct side where it was leaking from. Damn me. That's been corroding for a while. Right. Still leaking, but when it was on and I turned it on, it was clearer now. It's this little pipe that's leaking. When it's on and in position, it's peeing out of that joint, and now it's peeing out of that joint, and so that's because I've disturbed it all. So maybe this isn't too bad. I've just had another look at it. You can't see it too well in that light. Looks worse than it is, but actually it just looks as though the chrome's come off just on that junction there, but it doesn't look as though it's perforated. So I think it was the fuel line all the time. I don't particularly like these fuel lines, but that's how they were done originally. But anyway, we'll have to make another one up. I've got the kit to do that, and the little tool to compress the nibs. Well, I've been messing about doing a repair and I'm not very confident, to be honest. So I've got some fuel line, but it's the thin stuff that you have to use this on the Fury and the Bandits because of the taps and things. And I've got ferrules, the crimp ferrules for it, but that size tube and ferrule doesn't fit over these banjos. So I've had to butcher a spare bit of pipe I had and sort of fillet that in, and also make sure these others are crimped all right. I'm not too positive, let's see how it goes. Right, the old line makeup was a no-go, leaking. Leaking again, it's because they've been disturbed, they're all bloody hard. The crimp ferrules aren't working anymore, so I've made up a temporary line with the smaller bore stuff, but it's good and tight on the banjos and on the tap adapters here. So we're going to give it a go like this. I know I haven't got clips on it, but I've got plenty of coverage with a pipe and they are tight, even with a bit of oil to push them on. So that's good. I'm going to give it a go anyway, because it's going to be a nice day tomorrow. I've got a ride planned and I'm going to do it. So let's get these on and I can guarantee this ain't going to leak. Ha ha. Yay! Fuel is on. No leaks apparent at the moment. And looking pretty tidy. Much better than that other setup. It looks a right bloody... well, I don't know what it looked like, a garden gate. Over-engineered, really. But anyway. So, the laugh after the last clip was fortuitous. Because the right-hand banjo, when I put it on, was leaking. Because I put back on the original chrome one, which we suspected was leaking in the first place. Then we thought it wasn't, because we thought it was a pipe. But it was. And just in the middle of that, don't know whether you can just see, right in the centre there, there's a pinhole, and it pours out of there. So I discarded that, and then I got another one out, which it looks as though now I might have thrown that away in disgust. This was the spare one that I had. What have I done with it? Apologies, it's a mess here because I don't know what I've done with it. Anyway, I got the spare one out again that I had, and put that on, and I don't appear to have it now, so I've obviously... right, apologies, the phone died. So I was saying I couldn't find... So I was saying that the original banjo refitted, and it's got that pinhole there. There, I can see it clearer now. Clean the camera lens. Look at it. Can't see it much on the inside, but it's pissing out of there. So that's rubbish. So I found this in my stash, not in an original wrapper, but anyway, I put that on, and this was peeing out of the top here, you know, against the filter acting as a gasket, which it does on the top surface here. So I looked at this, and you look at it, and look at that, it's been ground, and it's obviously not flat. So that's toast. And unfortunately, that's toast. Luckily, in the old stash tin, I found a brand new one in an enamel wrapper, and I put that on, and that's what's cured it. So the fuel has been on now a good hour. Both taps on. No drips. Dry. So I think we're good. So that means we've cured the leak from that banjo and pipe unions, etc. And also means the floats are working, floats and the needles. Now, yeah, I know I haven't got any clips on these yet. I will try and get some tomorrow morning. But this line is tight on all the pipes and the banjos. And as you can see, you know, there's a good 2/3 of an inch there over it, so I'm confident it's going to be all right. Luckily, because it's been a warm day, this pipe was very warm when I put it on, so it's nice and flexible, so they're good and tight. So I'm going to go out on the run tomorrow, whatever, and what I'll do now is I'll just finish this off by putting the air filter back here, and then we'll put the breather on the back of that. Well, it's the crankcase breather off the bottom here. It's what they call a door handle, so it goes behind the side panel here, and then it comes around and up and out and into the air filter. Right, so anything we need to consider with respect to the air filter, I think that is all we need are the, if you like, covers. Where's the air filter? Here we go. All we need to make sure that we put on are the metal covers, inserts that go into here that cover the threads on the back of the carbs, and then we just screw in the two bolts. Right, let's get on with that. There we go, sounds good. Took a little to start it because I think I was over choking it. So as soon as I backed off the choke a bit and give it a bit more air, it was fine. So I'll need to take it for a run, get it warmed up, and just check the tick over is okay. But it sounds much better and ticking over on all three cylinders now, and picking up well as well, even when cold. I didn't check the slide heights because I didn't actually effectively change any of that. But the way that I normally do it is I don't use the cocktail stick method out of the back of the carbs. When the air filter is off, I actually look at the front of the carbs through the rack when the carbs are off. because on that side of the slide you can initially level them all up by looking at when the carb slide just opens in the bore. A lot easier in my opinion, rather than using the cutaway side of the slide. Anyway, there we go, all good, back on the road. Thanks very much for watching, everybody. Thanks for subscriptions, interest and comments, and I'll see you all again soon. Cheers.